Alright, let's take a look at Ruiner Pinball, the second pinball game for the Atari Jaguar. Alright, you have a choice between two pinball tables, Ruiner and Tower. Let's look at Ruiner first. As you can see, there's a lot more going on from a larger color palette, as well as good music and sound effects, and the ball is launched by a rocket system which looks awesome. As well, the pinball table is larger. As well, you can hit planes flying around the table, and you are sent to a deluxe table with different layouts and things to hit. The only complaint is I wish there were more objects to hit. The sound effects when hitting objects is much better. As well, there are lots of lighting effects on the table. All around, the Ruiner table is very enjoyable. Also, a side note, I set the high score in the game records the first time I played this game, and while recording this review, I beat my high score. Alright, let's take a look at the tower table. Right away you can see this is a Halloween theme based table, and it's got a lot going for it. From moving eyeballs, thorns, and flying bats. The table has an interesting choice of music, but what makes this table interesting is it's triple leveled, and you start in the middle, and it's definitely very enjoyable. Ruiner Pinball was designed and intended to be a definitive title for the Jaguar, but unfortunately, due to heavy competition from the Saturn and PlayStation, the game went unnoticed and very few gamers ever got a chance to play this game. I am giving Ruiner Pinball a B+. It would be an A+, but there are some issues. While I like the music and the controls are decent, and the sound effects are better, but they still aren't as good as they could be. And while I like the deluxe tables, I still wish there were more objects to hit. As well, I wish there were more tables. There is a major debate over which pinball game on the Jaguar is better, and both have their strengths and weaknesses, and while I'm leaning more towards Ruiner, even I can't decide which game is better, but they're both good titles and worth getting on the Jaguar. Okay, let's take a look at another updated version of a cult classic. This is Missile Command 3D. Missile Command 3D is an updated version of the original arcade hit Missile Command. The game has three different gameplay options: Original, 3D, and Virtual. Let's take a look at the original or classic first. Okay, as you can see, this is basically the original Missile Command, though a solid music track has been added to the gameplay. Overall, it looks really good, and it plays like the classic, but there's a problem in the controls. As you can see, I'm struggling to get around the screen to take out the missiles. Now, as some of you know, the Jaguar controller's D-pad is a little stiff, but in most games you don't notice, and when I'm playing I find it responds well, but in this game, the coding's not quite right. This is a special release of the original Missile Command on the Sega Saturn. As you can see, I have excellent controls and can move very quickly. Now, it's not horrible, but not responsive enough. However, if you try the game with the Jaguar Pro controller, which seems to have a better D-pad, the controls are much better, like you see here. I suspect this game was coded with the Pro controller's better D-pad in mind, but it wasn't coded correctly for the original controller. One last side note, you can manipulate the screen size, though I honestly don't know why this feature is present. Okay, this is Missile Command 3D, and it is basically a first-person perspective of Missile Command in a 3D environment. You have a desert landscape and a blue sky with the sun and mountains, and the mountains do have some texture mapping, and the graphics look high resolution and colorful. Now, you have a radar screen that tells you where the missiles are coming from, and you move to that direction, and you fire missiles back to take them out. I like the explosions, they're very colorful, but I wish the missiles had better detail and color. You also get super weapons from time to time. The controls are good, and I like the graphics overall, but I wish the bases had more detail to them. As well as the missiles, I wish they were in color. The music is good and the sound effects are okay, but I wish they were louder. Now let's take a look at the best part of the game. Missile Command Virtual Reality. Atari was going to release a virtual reality headset that is used for this mode of the game, but sadly it never came out. But a few prototypes are still around and end up at game conventions where you can try it out. And I would like to, but unless it comes to my city, I doubt I ever will get to try it. In this version you're underwater, and there's a lot more going on graphically, from bubbles rising to the surface, as well as the bases having shields and lights, and also having decent texture mapping. You can man one of 4 laser turrets, and if you have the Pro Controller you can switch between the turrets by use of the shoulder buttons or by using 4 and 6 on the keypad. You take out missiles and enemy ships and an enemy boss fish of all things. You also have access to missiles needed to destroy certain enemies. The level is large and you can look around with each turn and switch to the next one if you need to get closer. I like the virtual reality mode. It has a lot going for it, from good graphics as well as multiple views in a large environment and having super weapons. The music is good, though I wish the explosions had more sound to them. And again, the missiles have a lack of color, though when they're about to hit the bases you see a bit of color. Also, why are the lasers white and not red or any color? I almost forgot. This mode has the option to change the difficulty from easy to medium or hard. In the end, I'm giving this game an A. It is a good game, but some areas could have benefited from improvements. But it is a good update to the classic Missile Command and will make a good game to any Jaguar collection. One last thing, if you're ever at a video game convention and you see Missile Command 3D in the virtual reality visor, make sure you try it out, because I am sure it's an amazing experience. Tune in next time as I take a look at the very hard to find Atari cards. This is the Entertainment Wizard, signing off.